Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Bidney. On today's episode, I'll be talking with Mike Henderman. Mike will be joining the Alliance of American Football this year. He trained with me when he was in high school. He trained when he was at college, and he's here today. We're just going to talk about basically his process in football. So anyway, here we go. So Mike, how did you first find out about the gym?
I first found out about the gym from a few guys in high school. A couple of the guys that trained there, and they mentioned it to me, and then also through some family friends talking about the gym. So I ended up going and trying it out for the first time. Switched schools in high school, trained with you for a while, and then switched back schools, and I trained with you for sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school.
What was the atmosphere like at the gym? Could you describe to people? I mean, you were from a pretty big time high school,
Right.
Sandy Creek, and how many state championships did y'all win when you were there?
Well, I won three. I won three state championships there. My class went 56-2 at Sandy Creek.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
So you were around a football team that works. What about the gym? How did you think of the gym when you first got there?
Well, I've been with you since pretty much the beginning. Gyms changed quite a bit over time, but the atmosphere has always been really competitive, especially early on when I was there. The guys I was training with were, guys that were going to the Division I level in football, strong like myself. So we were always competing with numbers. I don't know. We like loud music, get us going, things like that. It's just a good environment.
Yeah, just played whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, with your class, you were around Lasky, went to the Rams. Mike Hilton went to or he's still at the Steelers. Who else did you play with at Sandy Creek? You had a running back go to Tennessee, right?
Yep, we had running back Tennessee, Rajon Neal,
Yep.
I think was his name. A couple other guys. A guy went to Army.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
Man, we had a pack of kids back in the day.
Yeah.
How have I changed since you've been coming to the gym? Have I been pretty much the same, or?
Well, I guess for me personally, I'd say you're pretty much the same. Other than, I guess, learning more knowledge as you going on, and then teaching that to us.
I've always tried to educate the kids why they do what they do, huh?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about your gym is literally a couple of days ago we were sitting in your gym and you were trying to teach me and a couple other guys, about just different things and why we do them.
Yeah. And so I think if you can teach somebody while they're doing what they're doing, you have a little bit more drive to try to get it done. And then when the results pop up, you're like, oh, okay. So, but you're not a small dude.
No.
What, 6'3"?
Yeah, 6'3", about 305 right now.
Yeah, and you're very athletic. You jumped a 34-inch vertical, right?
Yep, 34.
And what's your best bench?
Ever was 420, and I did that as a senior in high school. And I was training with you at the time. My senior year, my bench press went up 100 pounds, and I ended up breaking Sandy Creek's all-time bench press record.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think you're on that list. I've had 8, or I don't have it in front of me, 8 or 9 high schoolers bench 405 plus.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pretty crazy. Tell us about the recruitment process to Liberty. What did the coaches say when you got there, or how did it all happen?
Well, as I was being recruited, I got my first offer as a junior. And then throughout the time, I think I had about 6 offers, and they were all, FBS schools. And the way that Liberty worked out was a little bit different. I actually had my mom send my film and call them up, and we went on a visit. And from there, they were like, hey, we really like you and everything, but we just don't have a scholarship right now. And we ended up going back home, and I went ahead and committed anyways. And they called me about a week later, and they was like, hey, we had something open up. We're going to give you this full ride scholarship, and we want you to be a part of our team. So I committed. I went to Liberty. They liked me. They liked what they saw, and I think I was happy. For the most part, um, I was the happiest meeting all the coaches there than any other school.
Yeah. I mean, I just touched on it a while ago. You're very athletic, but we didn't really get into very much detail with it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you also ran a 5 flat 40 at your pro day.
Mm-hmm.
You're 34-inch vertical, 300-pound dude,
Yeah.
52.5-inch box jump. Uh, did the coaches notice how flexible and how you move?
Yeah, they did. Early on, I would say the strength coach there, Bill Gillespie, he noticed more than the other coaches. You know, I was still a freshman, so I came in and they pretty much automatically redshirted me for further development. But yeah, I mean, athletically, they could see it, my size, and just the way that I could run and change direction and things like that. I wasn't, I guess, at the strongest at that time, but athletically, I was moving with the seniors and the biggest guys and outperforming them.
Yeah, because back in the day, we used to do a lot of hurdle jump. You was jumping over 36-inch hurdles
Yeah.
forward and sideways,
Yeah,
and you can get over it like almost effortlessly.
yeah. Actually, one of the things that we sent in, I don't know if you remember or not, but we made a video to send in to the Liberty coaches because they asked to see a video on my athleticism. And one of the things that Bill Gillespie, the strength coach there, really liked was me jumping over the hurdles laterally and also jumping off the ground off my knees with the barbell on my back.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
I guess the stuff we did paid off then.
yeah, it did.
And Bill Gillespie's a famous strength coach too. He's got a lot of bench press world records too, don't he?
Yeah, he does. I believe he did 805.
Yeah. So I've never met him, but I know of him and researched him and we're friends on Facebook and stuff. So he seems to know what he's talking about. Very educated and likes to help people.
Yeah.
I guess that's what a good strength coach is try to make people better than what you are. How was it working with him?
Well, I mean, he's a good strength coach and he's also a good man. So those two things combined made it really easy for us to learn from him. I'd say early on, you know, we did a lot of running, a lot of lifting, all that as expected. But you know, he stuck with us. He stuck with all the freshmen, stuck with the guys, give us all the opportunities that we need to succeed, and he pushed us. So I mean, it was really good working with him. He has I guess, pretty good system that he sticks with, and we've all, I guess, performed pretty well for him. So really good.
You know, I talk a lot about achieving numbers and stuff like that. Did you really understand what I meant at first on like the number game?
I would say no, not really. Not at first. Not early on in high school. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted my bench press to go up and wanted my squat to go up, and you know, if that happened, then I was happy. But I didn't understand what you were
Trying to teach.
Yeah, not at that time.
But once you got all that strength, you were able to move. I mean, a part of the reason you're able to run and jump so well is would you move 500? How fast? What's the fastest you've moved 500 or your top speed?
The fastest I moved 5:15 at .64. I did that as a sophomore in college.
Yeah, so that was about 100 pounds more than Lasky moved. He moved 405 at a .6 range. I had someone email me the other day asking me, I don't know, that .6 range for me, and as far as we're trying to hit different reps with, has always worked. I'll talk on another podcast about how I do the numbers with the squatting and stuff, but you were able to get that strength. Then then we got you strong. Then we started doing more jump style activities. And then that's when you, I guess, realized how effortless the jumping and the moving was. Because once you had that strength, all we had to do is take that strength and increase your rate of force development.
Yep.
And moving 5:15 at a .64, that's a high rate of force development. If people don't know what a .6, I mean, y'all had Tendo units. I've got Tendo units, and Gillespie has Tendo units at Liberty, and y'all use those all the time, right?
Yep.
So I say, if you don't have a Tendo unit, you need to get out and go buy one. There's gym aware and some other things. I just find the Tendo units for myself to be really good. I've had some other things. Sometimes if you buy a lesser device, lesser meaning less expensive, they're inconsistent with the number readings sometimes, and sometimes the batteries will wear out on the lesser expensive devices. So Tendo units around $1,400. Just go spend $1,400, get your Tendo unit, and start tracking these things. Because if you're not monitoring, you don't know if you're gonna really, you don't really know what you're doing unless you're measuring something. And Mike said, basically we'll talk about how we broke you down for your pro day, right? Mm-hmm. You want to go over your top numbers? The whole goal for training with Mike on a pro day, he's an offensive lineman. He's got the height and the weight, typical offensive lineman for the NFL. What he did not have and what we needed, I was going to try to get Mike top 5 of every NFL category. And so what we did is we looked up the top 5 numbers for the offensive line, the OL part of the NFL Combine for the last, I do believe I looked up 3, maybe even as far back as 4 years. And so if we did that, so then I said, all right, to be top 10, you need to be this number. To be top 5, you need to be this number. And all I did was take the best numbers out of the past 4 years and kind of played off of that. And so once I figured out where his 40-yard dash needed to be, where he needed to be in his vertical, where we needed to be in his L drill, where we needed to be in the pro shuttle, where we needed to be in bench press reps, and his broad jump. So I figured out where the numbers needed to be. Then we just basically broke it down and we went to the drills. And if he was not hitting a 2.2 on his pro shuttle from the first 10, we didn't do the full thing, did we?
No.
It's kind of annoying.
Just kind of started with the first 5 and back.
Yeah, and learning how to touch the line.
Mm-hmm.
If your body's not right, you're not going to get that number. So if you don't get if your first 10's not good, or your first 5, if you can't touch the first 5, then if you can't get to the next 10 at a certain rate of speed, there's no point in killing you with doing the test over and over. We kind of did that with the 40-yard dash. We did a lot of 10s, and some days you didn't hit your numbers, and it can be frustrating.
It can.
Yeah, because what about the laser? I talked on the last podcast or two about the lasers. When I timed you on the lasers, it kind of hurts your feelings, don't it?
Yeah, it does, because it gives you the reality of what it is. When you do it on the hand watch, there's human error. So getting on the lasers, and it shows you what you're really running, and you don't think you're, as fast as what you might think you are.
Yeah, I had some kids quit because they don't think the lasers are right. But if you go to like a Nike opening combine or something like that, they're hand start, but they're right over you at hand start, but they're still laser finish. And we were getting some of the numbers, so of similar, but ours are still a little bit harder. So I've always tried to make the gym harder than what it's going to be later on. So like if I clock you at a 4.8 and someone tells me you're on a 4.9, they are lying. Mm-hmm. So we worked on your 10. Tell us, but we did eventually get you top 5 of every category, didn't we? Or did we do better?
Yeah, no, we in the gym we did. We got top 5 and better in every drill. I did 34-inch vertical.
That was top 5 for
that would have tied number 1 this year. I did a 9.8 broad jump. That would have been number 2 this year. 5 flat 40. I think that would have put me top 6 this year. Let's see, what are the other drills? 225. I did 27. I think that was also top 6 or 7. And the L drill and the pro shuttle.
Yeah, and you did all those numbers at the pro day, right?
Yep, all those were at the pro day. The only ones at the pro day that I didn't do what I did in the gym was the pro shuttle and the L drill. I did a 4.7 on my pro day with the pro shuttle and a 7.5 L drill.
What do you think happened on those 2 drills?
Just bad foot placement, and I slipped.
Yeah.
And then you only get one go at it. So.
Oh, so they weren't very lenient on it then, were they?
No.
So, yeah, so we can do all that work, and if you get someone who don't care about your numbers, you just push it on to the next. The people also criticize the jump mat. We've been using that since high school, right?
Yep.
And I think the National Strength Conditioning Association a couple months ago also came out with a study saying that you usually do jump. If you jump and land on the mat right, you usually jump on the mat what you do on the Vertec, and they kind of correlated the Vertec and the jump mat to be about the same. Mm-hmm. What was your best vertical at the gym on the mat? Was it a 34 flat or a 34?
No, the best on the mat, I did a 34.7, I think.
Okay, so it was about a half inch. You got a 34 flat
at the 34 flat at the pro day.
Okay, because when we was working with Lasky with the jump mat, he's another one that had a pro day for Georgia Tech. His best on the jump mat was a 35.1. Mm-hmm. Then he jumped to 35 flat, so it's really close.
Yeah.
The reason I like the jump mat a lot more is because usually with the Vertec, people will jump up, swing, and miss, and they're kind of like more worried about how close was I, and they'll get frustrated and like they'll keep swinging, and you got a timing issue of your hand. With a jump mat, if you jump a 34.7, mm-hmm. you know if you push a little harder, you can get a 34.8. Right. And so when we do our jump mat training, you're coming in and whatever you jumped last time. So if you were jumping with the 30s and you jumped a 28.5 with the 30s, workout 2, we're going to try to beat that 28.5.
Being able to see that number is really important because you can compete against yourself. And say I jump a 34, and then you feel like you can do better. You know exactly what number you did previously. I think the problem is with those mats is that there are ways that you can cheat them, but if you train correctly and you jump correctly on them, then I think that transfer over into the testing when like you do on the pro day.
Yep. What that worried you too because you was worried about the Vertec. Mm-hmm. You was worried about the 10-yard dash because we was trying to get were we trying to get into 1.6s for your 10?
I think we were trying to get a consistent 1.75, and then once we got that, and then once we got that, then we were trying to get down to 1.7.
So once you started, where were you at? 1.96 or something?
Yeah, it was pretty high. It was like I think the first day that we did it, my best number was a 1.91.
Yeah. So,
on the laser.
Yeah, and so then you were like, man. Then you wanted me to always bring out the stopwatch to see kind of how you compared, but it worried you. But I think by doing the laser hand time, it's a lot easier to be consistent with your training. You know, if when I was trying to time the stopwatch to ease your mind with some of the lasers, and I was so inconsistent, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah, because I would run like a 1.78 on the laser. And then some people would have me like a 1.81 on the hand watch, and even like a 1.69 on the hand watch. There would be at times a whole tenth of a second difference.
Yeah, and so it's just a lot easier when you get something like a jump mat or a complete laser system to keep your numbers consistent because the equipment's going to be consistent to where the human may not. Mm-hmm. What do we do? I'm not really a fitness person either. I mean, if you need the bench, sometimes I'll give you 5-6 minutes between sets, or even more. You know, it's just not come in, go, and do whatever. You know, it's going to be more of a strategic. All right, your reps look slow. We're going to rest 5 minutes versus 2. Yeah. Or if you're missing a rep, we don't ever take off weight if we're doing sets of 3 to 5. You rest longer instead of take off weight. If you rest longer, you'll actually get more reps than if you were to have shorter rest periods. So we don't really do a lot of short rest periods. And sometimes when I was training for my bench, I may even take up to 8 minutes between my sets. You know, it's just not because I'm doing multiple sets of 3 and sometimes sets of 5. And so my rest breaks between my bench and our squats are usually a squat. We can get away with a 5-minute rest period. But we're always trying to go against those numbers on the tendo unit. We got to beat the tendo unit. Got to beat the tendo unit, and not get in there and get a workout done. I just need to go over here and knock this out real quick.
Yeah.
And no, it's not like that. If I don't come in, if I'm trying to move 405 at a point 0.5, that's my goal. And if I move it at a 0.51, my next workout, if I'm going to use 405 or wherever I'm at, my numbers are always tracked, and I'll look back at my numbers. Oh, I moved 365 at a 0.58. Then I get a 0.61. You know, I may not. I hate the RPE system where how hard or how heavy you think your rate of perceived exertion, how you feel does not matter. It matters what that Tendo unit says. It matters whatever device you have on that bar that measures your speed says. This RPE scale needs to be freaking thrown out the window, because I think it's absolutely retarded, because you've had some crappy days, and I've even had crappy days. You think, oh, I'm not feeling good, and you can go in there and get the best numbers of your life.
Yep.
So screw what your feelings are. Get a testing device and test your stuff, because it's crazy.
I remember the one morning waking up early. We had to come in the gym early to do some 10-yard starts, and that was the morning where I ran my best ever, and I wasn't feeling good, and that's the first time in 3 or 4 weeks that we trained in the morning.
Yeah, and we wanted to train. Was trying to figure out what time of day your pro day was, so that we could train within that range. So, because if you're going to battle at that time, you need to train at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes playing football, you don't, with the strength coaches and stuff, they always don't have the luxury of training when they're going to play, you know, because they got to practice. So they're practicing usually in the afternoon, so usually the games are in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the strength training, you may not have that luxury.
Yeah, having a time constraints at Liberty, we would rarely have a turnover that would be longer than 2 minutes between sets.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the numbers and how I want this and that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're evaluated on numbers, and we talked about how you compared to the this past year's NFL group. How did that get passed over with the agents? You had a hard time with agents this year too, didn't you?
I did. I had it took a couple months to be able to find an agent that would be willing to represent me.
Do you think you just got a late start on it, or?
Yeah, I did. That was one of the main things, talking to all these agents, is, hey, sorry, you know, we kind of got all these guys already, and it's so late in the game, and we're only about a few weeks away from the draft, and you know, coming from a smaller school, you know, different things that factored into it, I think. But yeah, it was a little bit more difficult than I would think to find an agent.
Now, so that was frustrating.
Yeah.
So, but what did the numbers matter to the agents? Your athleticism numbers, or what you're going to be playing for Atlanta Alliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you think the numbers helped you get picked up by the Atlanta Alliance, or what do you tell us about the numbers, and if you think, or what you think they mean?
Well, I think that it could go both ways. I would say, yes, the numbers do matter, but after going through this process and having the numbers that I did have, being in the top lineman numbers in the nation, and still not being able to get a shot at an NFL minicamp, you know, they do look at the numbers, but I don't think if you're on a big stage like the NFL Combine, I don't think that they care quite as much. You know, we had 6 or 7 scouts at my pro day, and you know, they all seemed fairly impressed with my numbers, and they even mentioned to me, "Hey, you know, good job on that." And they have no reason to say, "Hey, you're a pretty athletic guy, good job." But as far as going into the alliance and being seen there, the general manager for the alliance called me, and they actually saw my film, and they saw some of the videos that we did together, like the box jump and things like that, and they loved my athleticism. So I guess it just depends on the person.
Yeah, I guess, and the coach or whoever, you know. And I was kind of pissed off the other day, and I sent out a tweet, and I even copied it to my Instagram. You know, I told someone, I said, quit saying facts and making the weight room a continuous meathead ideology. You know, if you have the physical characteristics and can't play, it's a coaching problem. The body is a specimen, and it can adapt, and you can make it adapt and if you can't make it adapt, you should be fired. Um, the mind and body can change. And so what I was really trying to say is these football coaches are recruited. You fit the ideal, perfect offensive lineman mold, 6'3", 300 plus. You had the athletic numbers. You played. The only thing that I could probably see is you played at a FCS school, but you have FCS and Division II schools that go all the way. So this was a frustrating thing to get to this alliance. At least they gave you a shot, and so you were even trained alongside some NFL linemen, and you outperformed them as far as drills and stuff like that goes. Your game film was pretty good. What was your records like at Liberty? I mean, did you get Offensive Player of the Year and stuff like that at points?
I had 1 year where I was preseason all conference, but other than that, not too many accolades. Our team, while I was there, I believe the best season we had was 7-5. I want to say we went 3 years in a row where we went 6-5. So, not the best records, which doesn't help when it comes to accolades.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll take a backup at Alabama that never played just because he's at Alabama, and so that's kind of. And he may not be athletic at all, but just because he's got that logo on his chest helps him out a whole lot. Now, we box squat a lot, and I spoke about box squatting and how that transfers to performance, as far as things go. And you've had or tweaked your back on before, and you were nervous about squatting, and so I said, we have to squat, Mike. But you knew that too, because you knew the numbers weren't going to change unless we did.
Right.
So I said, all right, we have to squat. We got to figure out a way to squat. And I've got a West Side barbell belt squat. Did y'all have those at Liberty?
Yeah, we had one there.
Okay. And so basically, I just set that up for you. And did we tendo your belt squats, or did we just?
Yep. We started off with the tendo, and then just ended up kind of going to like different numbers, different sets.
Yeah, and just trying to figure out where your speed was at with the belt squat and the tendo unit. Because we had to squat, and once you started squatting, that really started helping your 10 yards.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you had to sit off that box. It's just a box squat, just like kind of starting. You're not gonna jump back, start and get in there. You kind of gotta sit, and we sit on that foam pad and get up from it. But I think the West Side belt squat really had a huge transfer to your numbers too, because your jumps also went up, right?
Yeah, they did. In the couple months that I was with you, my vertical went up. I think it was 2.5 inches.
Yeah, and we didn't. How long? About 2 months.
Yeah, about 2 months.
And so the, people may crack on the belt squat, but I think that helped you a lot. Because your speeds got better with the tendo unit on the belt squat. Your vertical jump went up, which is measured at the gym and at the combine. Your 10-yard dash is measured at the gym and at the combine. And so I guess basically the only thing we did differently is we just monitored your squat speed numbers with the tendo, but we used the belt squat. We didn't even do a regular squat.
No, I mean I had a couple herniated discs, and I think squatting I would be fine, but didn't really want to take that risk. So as we're using the belt squat as a precaution, you can definitely get just as strong doing the belt squat as a regular squat, as long as you're adding in the other auxiliary lifts.
Yeah, I think the auxiliary lifts and things like that too. But I always talk about. Someone asked me the other day, I said, to change your squat, you got to change your squat. And if people want to know kind of how we do or kind of compare to West Side, those guys are a little bit more, or a hell of a lot more advanced than what we are as far as strength goes. But they don't do any running and jumping, so I think they get some lashback because they're not recording the performance numbers, but they don't care about the performance numbers, where we're recording the performance numbers, and all our training is geared toward getting those performance numbers. So we'll take everything, we'll measure it, and we'll try to drive that point home. The belt squat helped, and like I was saying, to change your squat, you got to change your squat. Like if you may belt squat for a while, did I have you front squatting there, Adele? at all anymore for you?
Yeah, I started off front squatting a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, because we was just trying to do something to take the stress off the back.
Mm-hmm.
But even for you or for myself, we may push the safety squat bar for a while. This is just to clarify how we'll kind of compare to the West Side. We don't change the bar every week. We change the bar probably about every month. We may do a buffalo bar 1 month. We may do a safety squat bar 1 month. We may do a straight bar with chain. We may do just a regular straight bar by itself. We may do a front squat. We may do a front squat box squat, or we may box squat with chain, or box squat with 2 chains. We're changing something to keep change coming, but we're not just sitting there beating ourselves in with a straight bar all the time. For a younger kid, they can. My favorite bar to squat with is a safety squat bar. I can drive my numbers up pretty good. I was able to achieve a 37.1-inch vertical. With 40s, I jumped to 28.1. I jumped to 29.0 with 35s, and I jumped to 30 with 30s at my age. So I still train and when I can and not blow myself up because I don't change as often as I should. I make my kids change, and I don't change myself because I'm a little retarded, but that's okay. Sorry for that, but I just wanted to let people know that I think the West Side Belt Squat helped you a lot. I mean, I've heard people use the pit shark, and the pit shark is kind of more of a lever system, and you don't really get you don't really get a good reading off of it, and I've not really used it, but I just observing. Have you ever messed with a pit shark before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So what's it look like for you now? What are we doing as far as going to be in the Alliance? When's that season and all that?
Well, the Alliance season will actually start February 9th, I believe will be our first game. As far as training camps and whatnot go, I don't believe until December or early January when we'll start training camps. But it's all really new. They're still announcing things, like they just announced the team names, so we'll be the Atlanta Legends. They've just announced the coaching staff, and they're filling out the rosters where they have announced where they've signed, I think, over 500 guys now. So it's all coming together, but here in the next couple months is seems like a long time. I want to get back on the field and get started, get going, but it's right around the corner, and it's getting exciting.
Yeah, so that's good. I want to touch on something else. You were one of the most explosive people in this past year's draft as far as your vertical jump numbers and your 40 and your broad, your vertical, and your 40. A lot of the kids at the gym can jump.
Yeah.
Jumping is the way you test explosive power, but we never do. A lot of people do power cleans. Mm-hmm. And I got in an argument or conversation with a Penn State strength conditioning coach. I don't know if he's there or not now. I won't mention his name. I don't think he's there. Not sure. But I was training this DB that's going to go play at Penn State, and he called me, just wanted to make sure that I was going to have that kid right or whatever. And I said, okay. He said, do you do power cleans? I said, no. And I don't. People know we never power cleaned at the gym, have we?
No, we haven't.
But I have some of the most explosive kids out there. I mean, Lasky was a running back, and he was top 5 vertical jump. And these are NFL dudes, and you were top 5. We had Colton Hauser. He was the number 1 vertical jump kid in the country for the Nike Spark, or I don't know if they call it Spark anymore, the Nike opening.
Oh, okay.
So then I had Zach Seymour and his brother Alex, which Colton, Zach, and Alex all trained when they were 8 or 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And so if you get a kid that young and you train them right, those 3 were top 10 in a vertical jump in the country. We don't do a power clean. And a power clean, if it's supposed to make you more explosive, but they don't test for it, I don't see how they're making it explosive. see your hips and they want you to use your hips and all this other crap in football and these hips. There is not a such thing as a hip muscle. There's muscles that cross the hips, that extend the hips. Mm-hmm. So if you strengthen those muscles, then you work on a rate of force development to produce a higher rate of force development in the muscles that cross the hip. Then you'll be a lot more explosive. And so you'll see a lot of kids in college or whatever, they will not extend the knee and the hip. You know, they'll kind of pop the bar and get under it before the hips extend or the knees fully extend if you want to break down their technique. And so I was talking to this Penn, he said, well, can you have him do power cleans? I said, I'll make sure his technique is sound because I was coached by Ben Green, which was a coach of 2 Olympians and 2 national championship teams. And so I was pretty proficient in teaching the Olympic lifts. And so I was going to make sure this kid was right. But when he got to Penn State, the guy didn't believe what I was going to say. So, but I had this kid. He bench pressed 225. I want to say 16 times as a DB, as an incoming DB.
Oh, wow.
And he had the highest vertical jump. And his dad called me and said he had some of the best numbers out of all the DBs there. And I never heard from that coach again.
Really?
Yeah. It's crazy, but you don't have to do power cleans. There are other means and methods to become explosive. I don't know why I got off on that rant, but I think power cleans are like a disease. If you're stuck in the strength conditioning field and you're in the collegiate setting, it's just kind of been brainwashed into you. You know, the National Strength Conditioning Association does it. I think Buddy Morris he's a strength coach for the Arizona Cardinals. He's even spoke out about they don't do power cleans there either.
Really?
So there's other means and methods. I just wish people would stop copycatting each other and repeating the same thing over and over. But if you like to do the lifts, that's fine. Just make sure that if you care about athletic performance, they do help with higher rates of force development, but if you're not doing stuff to monitor the change of the higher rate of force development, no good. You know, you see people doing strongman competitions, they probably need to do them because it's a lift you have to do if you're going to be in strongman. It depends on what your sport is, you know. For football players and basketball players, maybe not necessary. But anyway, I'll get off on that. I guess I'll touch on that. It's kind of like, what do you think it's like when you get the bad technique as far as these power, I can't leave it alone. It's kind of like once you get out of it, like I was in the strength conditioning field I did a little bit while I was at Memphis, and I didn't really understand until I got out. My back's against the wall trying to pressure to get these kids' numbers. Because kind of when you're in it, it's kind of like being a pitcher inside of a frame. You can't see the frame because you're trapped within. And so once you get out and people pay me to get these kids' numbers, I'm trying to deliver on that. You know, then that's when I really started learning. It's not until I got out of it that I really started learning. And after I got out of it, I wanted to get back into it because I like dealing with higher end athletes and trying to help them. You know, my goal is to try to help and teach. And then it's impossible. So kind of once you break that circle, it's kind of hard to get back in it because I guess they just don't trust you. So I don't know. So anyway, if you could go back and have this training process or this recruiting process for the Alliance, what would you do different, or what would you do different going into college? If you had a chance, what would you do differently? Yeah.
I guess I would go back to high school when I first started training with you, going back to the whole numbers thing, and just kind of trusting that process. When you explain like the whole side of getting these numbers to somebody that has never really heard it before, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, I wanna bench more and I wanna squat more and stuff, but you don't take it for what it is right now, to, you know, where you can compete against yourself to or, you know, other guys to achieve those numbers. And I think going back, I would I would trust that process more going in to training with you and then going into college because of all of the success that I have had, training with you and doing that. So trusting it more early on instead of just going to the gym and working out, actually going in there and competing and striving to beat myself and to beat those numbers that I had. And I think if I had done that, I would have been more successful as an athlete early on in my career.
Yeah, instead of kind of being like later on, we just kind of get stuck with it. You're like, oh man, because you can't go back.
Yeah, no.
And so I guess that's why if you could go back, you would.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that will be it for this episode with Mike Henderman. Is there any other things you'd like to say, Mike?
No, I don't think so.
So anyway, well, Mike, thanks for doing this with us.
Yep.
You want to give out your Instagram or anything like that?
My Instagram is Hendo_67. But I mean, I'm not too big on the social medias, but you can check it out if you want to.
Yeah, Spieka was the same way, I guess because it's a little different with younger guys, a lot of, I'm not very big on it either. I don't do a very good job posting, so I try to post, but I don't know, sometimes I think it's a hassle. Mm-hmm. But we've got to let people know. You can follow me on my social media at Explosive Mechanics on Instagram, at Explosive NBC on Twitter. You can also follow us on Facebook at Explosive Mechanics. So anyway, you can email me questions. If you have questions, feel free to email me at info@explosivemechanics.com. I'll be happy to answer questions. If I think they're detailed enough, I may just talk about them openly on a podcast. So until next time, see you later.